should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Happy Thursday! Happy Thursday! It's Linda from the Melanated Way. Hey everyone! Hey girls! Hey! Listen, I'm over here living in the Arctic. I think some of you guys know that I was dealing with rain in my apartment. There was a bunch of water damage, and so it's been a few weeks of dealing with all the water damage. And so they came in today to do some of the walls and stuff and paint, and so all of my windows are open. So I am freezing my patootie off over here. I'm just going to try to fix my background a little bit. Way better. So that's what's going on over here. Freezing. But that being said, at least everything's getting done and there is no more leaky apartment happening over here. That being said, let's do some housekeeping. Shout out to all of you guys that are in the live chat. I know a lot of people are in the replay crew as well. I want to shout you guys out as well. Our little Patreon family is growing, and I think her name is Nikki. Welcome to the family, Nikki. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the live chat tomorrow night for the news and gossip. Definitely make sure you guys try to check that out and come subscribe. Bottom of your screen, you can see where you can support the show. And all your support is always, you know, Crystal out here clowning me. Clowning per usual. Support the show, bottom of your screen, as well as super chats and super stickers are always much appreciated. Oh, Crystal. All right. We're going to start off with David and Annie. I'm really enjoying David and Annie so very much. I love everything that's happening with them. It's very entertaining. So episode 3, The Runaway. And boy, was Jordan a runaway. Listen, Jordan has a case of the teenage blues. And when I say he has a case of the teenage blues, I mean Jordan's running amok. Someone needs to slap him upside the head. Not literally, you guys. I'm not saying violence, but woo, that 14-year-old is doing the most. So David, we left off and David came back with his turkeys in a bag and he was so excited that he bought these 4 turkeys, 2 female, 2 males. He finally, 8 years later has paid off his entire dowry. And so he's presenting it to Annie's mom. He's like, good luck. I finished the dowry. And Sangat is really happy with him. Now, she mentions that she really was not a big fan of David. And you can imagine, we know what he's been through. And, he wasn't coming with much to the table. But he pulled it together, you guys. He's like a whole different dude. And so... you guys stop. It's funny. He's a whole different dude. So he definitely came on the come up. And so now Sangat likes him. She's like, I wasn't a big fan of him in the beginning. But David has really proven himself. And she says she likes him now. And the dad, Yut, says the only reason she likes him now is because he brought some turkeys over. So she's feeling him because he brought gifts. Those are straight facts. I was like, oh, that is so true. Anyways, Aunt Lom. So Aunt Lom is still mad. And she's decided that she's not going to let the kids go to America, and she just doesn't have a reason. She says she's just not happy about it and she doesn't want it to happen. So she's not going to let it happen. So as David and Annie are trying to interact with her, she pieces out. She's like, nope, walks away. And David is like, why? Like, what's happening? Everything I've said I would do, I did. everything I said I would do, I will do. And he's like, I've done the dowry with gold, with water buffaloes, with turkeys, with money. And I'm making a promise that if I take them to America, I will take good care of them like they were my own children. And I really do believe that about David. I really do believe that he will do his very best. He wants them to flourish in their futures. And she's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what you did. I'm cool. And she was not having it, y'all. She was not having it one bit. And so that's kind of making Annie sad because Annie's like, she's the elder of the family. And a lot of immigrant families are like that. Like Africans were like that too. Like the elder of the family. I think I talked about it with you guys before. The elder of the family really is like the head of the household. And you have to have their blessings. And if you don't, and you go against the elders' beliefs and stance and wishes, then you really do cause drama in the family. And when I say it's drama, it's drama. Crystal says, nah, they like him now because Annie and David are like the royal family of 90 Days. David has really come up. Who would have known back in the day? Facts. Those are true. Facts. They're super fan favorites. They're on every single spinoff of 90 Days. Now they have their own show. They had their own cooking show on Facebook. They really have come up. But you know what? Well deserved, because they are really kind in real life. Like they're very kind people. So Annie's frustrated with her Auntie Lom. She really needs Lom to come on her side, and she really needs her support in order to take these kids and do it the right way, right? So the next day, and Annie's like, we need to talk to her. We need to talk to her because ever since this whole situation where we said we were going to bring the kids to America, she's turned into a different person. And I think she's offended because they didn't consult with her first. Now, we talked about this last week. I think someone brought it up in the live chat where we were all like questioning, well, before they came there, didn't they like set up the visa process, ask for permissions, all of that stuff? Apparently, finding out this episode, they didn't. So yeah, she's offended. She's offended because you didn't consult with her first. That was your first mistake. So whenever you had this idea that, hey, we're going to bring the kids over, they're going to get educated in America so they can have a better life in Thailand, the first person you should have gone to, in my humble opinion, is to the head of the household. Like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? Oh, but it wasn't just about that, was it? So, David, he's in his feelings a little bit. He doesn't like that she's been kind of mean to him, and she has been, you guys. She's called him fat, and she's like, you can't take care of the kids. You're incapable of it. She was lashing out. But as we watch the episode, we really find out that it's deeper. And I always say that, you guys, like when people are lashing out at you, it's always about more than whatever it is they're lashing out at. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you didn't empty the dishwasher. And there's a whole row about that. It's not about emptying the dishwasher. There's something deeper going on that they just this is the easiest way to lash out on them is, and I'm not saying that it's okay, because it's not. That's why I always say that it's very important to communicate. And I'll tell you this week, I needed to take my own advice. I needed to take my own advice and listen, Linda, listen. And then speak after I listened. So, David agrees. David's like, between all the name calling she's doing and all of that, it's an excuse for something else. And we need to figure out what that excuse is and why. So they go to talk to her to try to understand, hey, listen, we just want to bring the kids over because we want them to have more opportunity. So they're not 50 years old, cutting down trees to survive. Those were straight facts. Like, listen, you guys are in a small little village. If we bring these kids to America so that they can gain all the skills, travel the world, get some outside influence. And, I always tell people, traveling changes your life. Traveling changes who you are. And it allows you to really understand people on a different level. And I think that if you ever have the opportunity to travel, you should always take it. So that being said, they're like, what's the real reason? And this is when we find out the really sad, tragic story. So she says the real reason is because she once had a kid and she lost her child. And she lost her child about 5 years ago. And now Jordan and Amber are like her children and they're only kids that she has. And if they left, she feels like she's losing children all over again, which means, she's worried about being alone. She's worried about being lonely. She's worried that, they'll go away and forget about her, all of those things. And when she lost her daughter, it hurt her so much. And she just doesn't want to feel that type of loss again. And that's what she was worried about. Now, here's the thing, you guys, that was so sad that we found out that her daughter was 12. And 5 years ago, she was killed by a drunk driver in a drinking and driving accident. And then everyone started crying. I even was tearing up because that was her only child, and it was so sad. And David said, I understand. And I promise to take very good care of them and to protect them. And so after they had that moment, Aunt Lom gave her blessing. And she's like, even though this is painful for me, I'm going to take your promise and I'm going to say, hey, I'm doing this for their future because I too want better for them. But y'all, if David doesn't keep his promise, he can't come back here and he will be no longer part of this family. Now, here's the thing that I have a question about. I get that it's David's responsibility, but shouldn't that same responsibility fall on Annie as well? Because it's both David and Annie that want to take the kids. Why is David the one that we're pointing all the fingers at? It should be both of you. You guys are both responsible. I'm holding you guys both responsible. If it doesn't work out, it's not just on David, it's on Annie as well. I just felt like Annie was getting a pass. Did you guys feel that way? Because I surely did. Anyways, they have her blessing. They hug it out. And then it's time to start getting ready for the ceremony. Yes! Geek Girl says, yes, I was thinking that too. And Crystal's like, David was getting all the smoke. He really was. So Annie and Cindy, her bestie, they're getting their makeup done. They're going to do the traditional ceremony, blessing, before they go off to America. And they're going to have it at this very special temple. And these ceremonies aren't like the run-of-the-mill every single day events. These ceremonies only happen in the temple. Like if there's a marriage or there's something major going on in your life, then you have these ceremonies as a blessing before whatever it is that you're doing. And so they dress up, they dance, they pray. And so that's what they're going to be doing for David and Annie, Amber and Jordan before, they all go off to the US. So as Annie and Cindy are doing their makeup, David's trying to get ready too, and David's trying to wear a traditional Thai outfit. And unfortunately, the jacket doesn't fit, and the pants don't fit. And so he's a little bummed about that. And he said, it was been a tough 2 years with COVID. And he's like, my heart, and he said this in Thai, he said, my heart is Thai, but my ass is foreign. And he just rolls her eyes. But y'all, it has been a little hectic. Losing this pandemic weight is no joke. I have a friend that I was like, how is it that you didn't gain, you got even more fit during the pandemic? How is that even possible? How? How? So while I was not going to the gym, you were doing what? You were going on runs and working out at the house? Can I just have a hot summer girl too? Can this just magically just go away? Can the weight just fall off? Lord. So I felt him. I felt him. I felt David when he said that it's been a tough 2 years with COVID. My ass is foreign, he said. So Amber is also getting ready for the ceremony, and we find out that Amber grew up. Amber, Dream Big says, I am pleasantly plump. I like that, Dream Big. We find out that Amber was a tomboy growing up. She didn't like any of the girly things. And I could totally relate to that, you guys. Like, I grew up with all boys. So I was the biggest tomboy. Even like all of my homies, not all of them, but a lot of my homies are boys back home. So I felt that. I totally was a tomboy. And then there's something that like flips a switch. All of a sudden you're like girly. And so like now I'm so girly, but I still like do tomboy stuff. So I feel like it's a good balance, really. So anyways, that's how Amber is as well. And so she didn't like Thai dancing at first when she was younger, but now she likes to dress up in the traditional Thai dresses and do Thai dancing. And she's worried that when she comes to the US, she's going to miss that. And miss dressing up. And I totally get that. But that's why you still bring some of those outfits. And then when you have like cultural events, then you wear them. And like for me, I'll even sometimes wear them on red carpets and stuff. And it sparks conversation because people love to see things that are a little bit different that are culturally inspired. So I think she'll be able to maneuver it and work it in. Annie's mom comes strolling into the room and she says Jordan is still asleep. Annie needs to go wake him up. Annie goes to wake him up and he's like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to get up. He ignores her. She tries to like push him out of the bed and he's like super cranky. Finally gets up and like totally takes off. And this is where I was like, oh, he has a case of the cranky teenager and he always wants to sleep. Remember like 13 to 15-year-old boys that all they do is eat, play video games, and sleep in that order. And that's where he is. Like he's in that, I'm always so tired. I'm always so tired. Phase, which is, can be a headache. So everyone's ready to go. And the ceremony is a big deal. The head of the village, the head of the town will be there. And lots of other people are going to be there. And Annie just feels like it's embarrassing to keep people waiting, which I agree it is. You said, it starts at this time and it's your event. You should be there. Geek Girl says, that was ridiculous. Brat vibes. Facts. Even Stevie was saying Jordan is a serious brat. So Cindy, David, and Annie are going to take a separate car and they're going to try to get there to meet their guests. And then the rest of the family is going to meet them at the temple. And the temple is a famous temple in Thailand. And Annie really believes, if you pray for what you want truly from your heart while you're at temple, everything that you pray for will come true, which I thought that was really beautiful. And the temple was beautiful. The outfits were beautiful. I really, again, wish we could see more of that, more of the culture, because, that's part of why we watch it, right? They're marrying foreigners or dating foreigners or whatever. Let's see what's going on there. For people that have never been to Thailand and may not have the opportunity, these are things that we want to see. I think that's great. So they're on the way to the temple. They get a call from Annie's aunt. They can't get Jordan to go. And Annie's like, no, it's a must. He must go. It's disrespectful of him not to go. And apparently he doesn't want to go. And Annie's worried that is this his way of saying that he doesn't want to get to the US or go to the US? So guess what? They have to flip a switch and turn around to go figure out what's going on with bratty Jordan. Now, let me tell you this. I don't have kids yet. Okay. I don't have kids yet, but I will tell you the type of mother I would be. If there was an event and my child was not ready, first of all, that doesn't even make any sense. My child would be ready, okay? My child would be ready because guess what? I'm the adult. You're the child. I pay for everything that's happening over here. That roof over your head, that's me. Oh, that food in your mouth, that's me. Oh, that uniform you wear to school, oh, that's me too. I own everything, including you. So, that all being said, this whole I don't want to go and I'm tired and I'm sleeping. Oh, you know that bed you're sleeping on? That's me too. Okay? So until you pay your own bills and have an adult mind, let the grown folks talk and let the grown folks make the decisions. Period. That being said, they turn around. Annie's super frustrated because she's put a lot into planning this ceremony and doing all this for the kids, and she just feels like he doesn't give a shit, and he's unappreciative and disrespectful, and she's not feeling it. They get there, and Jordan's in the jungle, forest, rice field somewhere. He's taken off, or he's run away, and Annie's just like, that is so disrespectful, and she just leaves him. And she's like, people are sacrificing their time, their money, they're leaving their farms and their work for the day to come for this celebration. And this kid is running away because he don't feel like going. Oh no. Oh no. You take several seats, Jordan, because we are about to have a conversation. See, Cruz said, exactly. When my teenagers would slam their bedroom's doors, I took the doors off the hinges for a week. Facts. Because guess what? See, Cruz, it's your house. Those are your doors. And Diamond Girl says, exactly. My child would be ready and going with me on time, no excuses. Facts. Because guess what? You're the adult and the parent. So, they get to the temple and everyone was waiting. And Annie offers to pay them back with a big feast, which I can't wait to see, beers and a tip. So I think in the celebration, because even like in Guinean celebrations, there's money given out. So let's say, like, they do it at funerals too, and it covers funeral costs. There's dancing, and the people that are affected are all in the middle, and you're dancing and celebrating whoever has passed on. But then your guests, for lack of better words, they give money to you. So I think it's very similar in their celebrations where there's money given. So they decide that Annie's gonna make it up to them that way. And you guys, look how beautiful. And I'll just take myself out for a second just so you can see how beautiful Annie looked. And David, I just beautiful. And I'll share some of the photos as well as we go through. So they're going to do a traditional dance. But before they do the traditional dance, they're going to do a Thai Buddhist prayer first. And they're worried. Annie's worried because she's like, she wants to pray for Jordan specifically because he's acting the way he's acting, and his bad attitude can bring bad luck because he's creating bad energy. And I just was like, that's a lot of, it's very similar to, what you focus on is what you get. And if you focus on the bad, you will continue to get the bad. And if you focus on the good, you can continue to get the good. So that really resonated with me. Like, if you're acting so negative, right? Because that's how Jordan's been acting, like so negative, then it's not surprising that negativity comes your way. You're attracting that. So she doesn't want that to happen. So she's going to pray for Jordan. So they do a prayer. And I just have to tell you, I love how David has completely embraced Annie's culture. I love that he tries to speak Thai as much as he can. I love that he knows what like each ceremony is and how to do it and how to perform it. And he's just fully embraced her culture and who his wife is. And I just think it's really a beautiful thing. So Amber, who looks gorgeous, who you see here, is disappointed in Jordan. You know, she's like, he's old enough to know better, so he should do better. And it's unfortunate that he's making this a big deal and about himself. So they do this beautiful Thai dance, and Annie explains as kids, all the females learn this dance. And she's sad because her parents, Jordan's parents as well, couldn't come because they had to spend all the time looking for Jordan, who ran off in the rice fields. So they didn't get to experience this whole moment that Annie and David put together, and nor were they able to get the blessings, right? So everyone was upset about it. So when they get back to the house, Annie absolutely wants to spend some time with Jordan and find out what exactly his problem is. So they drive back, and by this time it's dark, it's raining. They drive back, and guess what Jordan's doing? Jordan is lighting firecrackers, fireworks out of bottles. All his little friends are around. You can tell they were been up to no good. And Annie is like, what the actual? And she's like, get out, get out, get out, pack it up. And she kicks all his friends out. She pulls him aside and she's like, why did you run away before? And he's like, I was tired since yesterday. Sorry, I want to pull up some more photos for you guys. There you go. I was tired since yesterday. I was sleeping. And to camera, he's like, you know, Annie made me mad because she kept waking me up. It's so annoying. I was so annoyed. And I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I took off. Listen here, little boy. Listen here right now. You couldn't stand it because you had to wake up? Huh? Annie was pissed off. She sure was. She sure was. Amber's like, you know, you need to show some respect to Annie. And, you know, she brought the villagers in. She planned this whole thing. You know, she's your elder. You need to respect her. And Jordan's like, well, they could have left if they wanted. And he said it all shady. And then he's like, and, you know, if next time that happens, they should just not bother coming. I was like, again, someone needs to slap the brakes off of this fool right here. Because this little kid was saying the most and doing the most. What you're not about to do is talk crazy to the adults, not to the grown folks. Not to the grown folks. You ain't doing all of that. You might be thinking it, but show some respect. And if you can't, then we'll have to teach you some respect. And whatever that looks like. So if that looks like we have to take away whatever it is that we need to take away, then we'll do that. But what you're not about to do is mouth that off. Like, I can't stand a mouthy child. Woo! Can't stand a mouthy child. So David asks, as they have him sat down beside them, David directly asks, does he want to come to America? Silence, more silence. And then he's like, 50-50. And you could tell that was making Annie sad because she had done so much to prepare, and she really wants to give them the opportunity that she always wished that she had growing up. And so she's like, you know, I just really don't think he's understanding what I'm truly trying to do for him, how I'm trying to expand his life and give him skills and give him the leg up in his life at a young age. So Annie asks him, are you ready? And he shakes his head no. Annie starts crying and he's like, I'm not ready. So what do you think that means? You think Jordan's not coming, or you think Jordan's coming? I think Jordan's still coming. He may not be ready, but he clearly does not know how to make any wise choices on his own. So if there's a deciding factor, I think the deciding factor has to be made by the adults. Geek Girl says, I wonder if Jordan was even asked. He probably wasn't, because you guys remember one of the reasons why they wanted to take Jordan away is because he's been acting up. He's been skipping school. He's been talking back. Do you remember from the very first episode? So one of the reasons they want to get him away from some of the people that he's been hanging out with and some of the things that he's been doing. So all of this behavior is why they're like, oh, you need a change of atmosphere, because they're afraid that he's going to just go deeper and deeper into the nonsense. So we'll find out. We'll find out what happens next week. On to Loren and Alexei. Episode 3, Mommy and Me. So where we left off last week, Loren was mad at Alexei, and I'll call him Alex because that's what she calls him in the show. She was calling and calling and calling during the wedding, and he didn't answer because it was his cousin's wedding day. And, you know, he missed Shy's first steps. So Shy's walking, and that was a big milestone. And, you know, they knew or had a feeling that it was going to happen soon, and it did happen. And Loren did this like a little bit of a guilt trip. She's like, you know, he decided to extend his trip a few extra days and he missed it. And we knew it was going to happen. And guess what? It did happen. And so she decides that she's not going to tell him until he gets back. Because really, she doesn't want to make him feel bad. So on the one hand, she's like passively aggressively trying to make him feel bad by saying he's the one that extended his trip. But on the other side, she doesn't want to tell him directly because she also doesn't want to wreck his trip. So it's kind of like a weird thing going on there. It's been a week already that Alex has been gone. And they finally talk, and she's like, oh, it's so nice of you to pencil us into your busy schedule. And he's like, yeah, you know, what were you thinking? You called like 20 times. He's like, you know how it is when I'm here. I'm running around nonstop, and, you know, I'm tired too, he said. And I was like, oh, that was probably not the right thing to tell Loren, that you're tired too, because you get to party it up, hang with your family, and eat, drink, and be merry is making you tired. That's probably not the best look. So in his busy schedule, he's like, the one thing that he enjoyed the most was the freedom. And I was like, oh, that's probably something you don't want to say too, because guess what? This is your family too. This is your responsibility too. This is your baby that she's carrying too. So like freedom, like I guess Loren said, she doesn't get to have that same freedom. Like, hey, I think I don't want to be a mom for like a week. So let me take this baby and then our other baby and I'm going to peace out. Like, it doesn't quite work that way. Anyhow, she's ready for him to come home. And he explains that he didn't pick up her calls because it was really a loud wedding and she already knew that he was at the wedding. And so, like, what did she think was going to happen? And during the week, she really felt like her strength had been tested. She had no social interaction with adults. And, you know, she really feels like she wants some adult time. And he's like, well, you know, you should go meet friends. And she explains, and I think this is true because even I feel like I suffered from this a little bit too because of the pandemic. Everyone's not really going out like that. And so she's working from home, the pandemic, plus she has Shy, plus she's pregnant. You know, she's become a hermit. And I think a lot of us have become a little bit more hermitish since the pandemic. I know I have. Like, it's a conscious effort to go out now, when before I was like out all the time. So it's interesting how our lives have changed. It really is. I hope we get some type of normalcy back sooner than later. Alex does say that he thinks that women are so much stronger than men. And he says, and I think he's referring to like have like childbirth and all of that, but that women have a much more difficult life. I laughed because Loren's like, remember you said that. So Loren is really, really longing for some adult time. And so she's going to meet up with a friend of hers that is, they used to work together. Her name is Carly. She's in her 20s. They met pre-baby, when Loren was, married, but free to do what she wanted to do. And she really wants to, have a drink, let loose, and relax a bit, but she can't because she's a mom now. And so they're going to meet up. And Carly, it's interesting too, because, there are some changes that happen, obviously, when you get married and have kids. And that's why I think too that your lifestyle changes so much. And so if you're in a couple, you tend to have couple friends. If you're single, you tend to have single friends. If you're married with kids, you tend to have married with kids friends, so that you can commiserate from wherever you are in your life. And so Carly talks about how it's been interesting for her to see Loren go from party girl to being a mom, right? And how they haven't seen each other for a while, and they haven't spent time. And, now it's like day dates versus clubbing and all of that stuff. So they have some small talk. We find out that Carly's single. She's not dating anyone. She's just going to have a hot summer girl summer. And Loren's like, I used to be hot. Now I'm a mom and I have this mom bun, but at least I'm making it look fancy. And we find out that Loren had a meltdown before her first baby because she was worried about society's standards of how she should dress and how she should walk, and if she can wear a half top or if she can wear what she wants to wear. And she wants to be able to be a mom to do whatever she wants to do. And I agree with that. Listen, you guys, just because you're a mom doesn't mean you have to have a certain look. I'm not of that mindset where you have to do things a certain way. If you can pull it off, pull it off. If it makes you feel comfortable and beautiful, then you do you, boo. I don't think that, oh, she's this, she's a mom, and look what she has on. Listen, if she's hot, she's hot. And she can be a hot mom. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that people who say that there's something wrong with that's on you. And you're probably saying it because it's something that you can't pull off. And I just don't think that they should be in a position to judge, because it doesn't take away from the fact that she's a good mom. Anyways, that being said, she had a meltdown, and she just wants to be able to be happy, sexy Loren, but also amazing, great mom, And I'm not mad at her for it. What else? Carly and Loren used to hang out almost every week, and now they haven't seen each other, 2 years because of the pandemic. And so they spend a little time, but there's a time frame because Shy's getting antsy. He starts crying and she can't drink, and Carly's having a drink. So they caught up, but it was definitely like a tight time frame. They stayed for about an hour. And Loren realizes that she was leaving, that she does need some mommy friends so that she can relate and they can relate to her and she can talk about what she's feeling and what she's going through. Meanwhile, back in Israel, Alex having his last meal with his parents because his trip is over, and the trip has been great for him. He felt, he got re-energized, and he's excited because guess what? He's bringing his whole entire family to the U.S. soon. And, the mom is getting excited about that. And the mom's like, if you could stay longer, would you? And he's torn because he wants to stay with his family, but he also misses his other family. And so he's like, I miss my family and my kids, but I miss you guys too. And guess what? That's part of the reason why he wants his whole family to come back to America and live with him. And we find out the mom's documents are in. So he is telling her to get ready to move soon. And I just think about all the things that immigrants go through, like leaving everything that you've ever known, starting anew, learning languages, building a life, time away from each other, because now the mom's going to be away from the dad until the dad's visa comes. And then so it's going to be the dad and the brother. and they're going to be apart from the mom and the other brother for some time until their visas come. So there's like so many steps, with immigration that I think a lot of people that aren't immigrants don't realize. Like there's a lot of time away and a lot of missing and not having that person that you love the most beside you and all the things. So I thought that was an interesting angle to show and realize like it's a process, but there are a lot of sacrifices made on everyone's parts. So documents are in, she's going to get ready to move, and he's super excited that the mom's going to be living with them and helping them with the kids. And the idea is now that their family is expanding, they want to buy a house, but they don't necessarily want to stay in Florida because they're in Hollywood, Florida. And Alex is like, if we're going to be in Florida and not be by the beach, like, what's the point? So they're looking at the Carolinas, but they want to go somewhere where the weather is nice because they grew up in Ukraine. It was freezing, and they don't want to be anywhere where it's freezing anymore. So they're thinking about the Carolinas, and then the parents are like, well, what are Loren's parents going to say? Because right now, Loren's parents are so close to her, like an hour away, so they can absolutely come back and forth all the time. And we find out that, guess what? They don't know. So the parents are like, they don't know? Yeah, they don't know. So it's going to be a big shock to them. And Alex knows that it's going to upset them a lot. And I can only imagine how that drama is going to play out on our TVs, because you already know the mom and the dad have been saying so much about Alex, and now they're going to think that Alex is the one that is taking Loren away from them. But at the same time, I'm like, Loren can only stand her mom for like 3 hours at a time. So like, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Aw, everyone's saying the same thing. Diamond Girl said, I went from social diva to recluse. So sad, but true. And Geek Girl, same. Listen, you guys, hopefully when the world opens up properly again, we can resume how we lived our lives. And in the meantime, we just make the best of what we can do, So back to Loren. She doesn't have a lot of friends. She's been staying at home a lot because of the pandemic. And so she found a mommy and me class. And I agree with what she said too. It is hard as you get older because everyone gets settled in their ways and with family and all that stuff. As you get older, it is harder to make friends. I absolutely agree with her. And I want to ask you guys in the live chat if you think that's true. Do you think as you get older, it's harder to make new friends? And I personally find, as immigrant myself, that it's also harder because a lot of people like went to the same elementary schools and high schools and universities together, and so they've all known each other for years, and then you come in like university days or whatever, and you're like the new person, and they've already established years and years of friendship, so that part can be hard. I think it's also hard when you like move cities, right? It's just harder. Everyone is agreeing. It's just harder. It's harder. So she found a mommy and me class, and she walked in, and she felt like everyone already knew each other because everyone was talking and socializing. And so she was a little bit worried and nervous because she's like, oh, this reminds me of high school where you have all like your little high school cliques. But what I love, and I think that this is such an important skill to have, I'm going to say 3 things why I think it's important. So the first thing I think is if you have a business, you have to be, so if you have a business, you should always greet whoever comes through the door. Openly and honestly, let them feel welcome, because guess what? They're your patron. They're there for your good or your service. You should always greet them. And you should be kind, because not only are they coming to you, but you have a business and it should be a nice transaction, if that makes sense. I have 2 examples of what not to do when someone new comes in. So this lady saw Loren and boom, on it. She like greeted her. They did the handshake, which I was like, are we still doing handshakes in COVID, whatever, but whatever. But she was so nice. She's like, don't worry, welcome. And she was so welcoming. 2 things happened to me. So I keep talking about like this whole weight thing. There's a gym that opened up close to my house, and I had been following their journey from construction to the build out, all the stuff. I reached out on social media. I was like, I'm super excited. We totally needed a gym in this area. I'm super excited to support this small business. And, specifically, this was a Black business. And I was like, I'm all for it. Finally, and the person was like super responsive and all of the things. And then, you guys, I walked over, right? Because now they had their opening. I walked over. I stood at the doorway. I looked in, and there weren't a lot of people in there, but they were all like, LA beautiful, pumped and all of that stuff, ripped and all that stuff, music playing, and not one person greeted me. Not one person looked over. Not one person did anything. So I didn't go in. But then I just happened to be driving a few days later down the street, not too far away, and there was another gym. And I pulled over. I was like, "Oh, what's this gym about?" Listen, I put my hazards on. I just jumped in because I wanted to see like, what can I get a card, or what's the whole situation? I want to see what your services are. I stepped 1 foot in. The guy stopped what he was doing, and he was like in the midst of something. He's like, "Hey, welcome, boo, 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 come in, take a look around." I was like, "Oh, I'm double parked. I can't really do that." He's like, "Oh, don't worry about that. Hey, so and so," and calls like another person over. She comes over. She's super kind. She's like, "Come on, let me show you around." Like, and that's what you want. That's what you want. That's the difference, especially as adults. Number 2, I personally think that if you're like at a party or even walking down the street, and I know it's hard now because it's all masks and stuff, but if you feel that vibe where you're like, oh, that person feels like they're left out, just say hi. I think we just all need a little bit more kindness, and I think we all just need to be a little bit more loving towards each other, because it has been a tough couple of years for all of us. And I think we all are longing for more interaction, more love, more community, So if we can all just be a little bit kinder, I think that is important. All right. Thank you again for coming to my TED Talk. Back to Loren and her Mommy and Me class. So they do a mommy circle. They're all really welcoming. Shy is welcome into the circle. They do like some sensory and talk time, and they talk about, having babies during the height of the pandemic, because that's a whole different journey. And I'm sure midwife Crystal can speak on it. But, we had a baby born in the pandemic, and it's just a whole different vibe, right? Because they've had to stay home this whole time. The socializing that you would probably do, you weren't able to do. And so they were able to talk a little bit about that. And just having, a baby during the height of the pandemic is a hard feat. And I think that that's going to be a whole generation of people that, 10 years down the road, they're going to talk about it, Texas Gina, thank you so much for the super chat. Be nice to people. We'll come back in volumes. That is absolutely facts. Kindness. It may not seem like it always wins, but it always wins in the end. Hence, look at the David and Annies who are kind to everybody and, are flourishing. And I always like to say, spread more love. And I just think it's important. And I think it's easy to do, and it's free. So Loren really liked the Mommy and Me. She's worried though because all of the women only had one child, and she is on her second baby. So she's worried that she's going to be the only one that has two under two, and who will she be able to talk about her concerns with about that? So midwife Crystal says it's really rough, lots of depression and anxiety during pregnancy and postpartum. You have to try to make them feel excited, even though things are so crazy in the world right now. See? So you can imagine between the pandemic, postpartum, pregnancy hormones, all the things, I'm sure it's been a roller coaster. So, yeah, crazy times. We're back in Israel. It's Alex's day of flying out. And so one of the things I'd love to learn for his culture in Russian culture, or he said Soviet tradition, he said before a big trip, everyone just sits down together. They take a deep breath. They let it out. They calm down, and then they go. And if you guys remember from 90 Day the Other Way, we saw that with Steven and Alina. And Alina and her friend, when Alina was about to meet Steven, and they had that moment where they just sat. And I just think that that's an interesting tradition, and I'm glad that they explained it, because now, I learned something new. I didn't realize that either, Krista, that he grew up in the Ukraine. I really actually didn't realize that until he said it. So we learned that as well. His mom was super happy that she got to spend time with him, but she also too is going to miss him. They do a big group hug, and it's hard to say goodbye to family. And it really is hard, you guys. It's so hard. It's so hard to say goodbye, especially when you haven't seen your family in a couple of years. It's like you don't want it to end. So I felt that moment so to my core. And he talked a little bit about, he knows that Loren is jealous that he took this trip, but he's jealous that she has her family close by. And I tell you, no truer words. When he said it's hard being married to an American, I just think it's hard being married to anyone that you had to travel and leave your family to. So even if it's not an American, even if it's wherever you are and you left your city to go be with the love of your life and your family's in a different city, it's hard. If one person has their family close by and the other person doesn't, it's hard. But hopefully, if you have a beautiful family in union, their family embraces you and they become your second family. Ideally, that's how it works. But Alex realizes that his home is in the States now, and he can't wait to get back with his family. And he hopes that Loren doesn't hold this trip against him. But you kind of saw hints of that in the beginning of this episode, that she'll hold some of it against him. But it's reunion day. They are picking Alex up from the airport. They get reunited. Everyone starts crying. She doesn't want him to leave them ever again for so long. And Alex realized how much he missed them as well, and he just missed being home. And he really felt like there was no one to, quote, take care of me, which, when you're in a long-term relationship, you do have your ins and out of your relationship, right? So when that person's not there, and the things that you do on the day-to-day, you're like, oh, that's weird. We're not doing the things that we do on the day-to-day. And one of the things that we learned that Loren does is she scratches his ass every night. So when they go to bed, I guess he likes, maybe back scratches or lower butt scratches, but that's what she does. And it was obviously that no one else can do it. So now he's back. He's like, yay, I'm back. I get my butt scratches. Alex takes a minute to recognize that Loren is the best wife in the world because she let him go to Israel. And he said, that will be the only time you hear me say that. Meanwhile, he decides that he's going to pop in the shower. And as he's popping in the shower, Loren's like, look, look, look. And so beautiful, touching moments. Shy with his little car pusher is walking towards his dad, and Alex sees for the first time his baby take steps. And although he was proud and excited and all those things, he did feel guilty for missing this big milestone because he was away, and he's hoping that he doesn't miss any more milestones. But it was a really sweet moment, you guys. It was so sweet. Crystal says, sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes. I think so too. I think that time apart is okay. And time apart allows you to appreciate what you have. I absolutely think that that's true in a lot of cases as well. So that was the episode. I loved it. I loved it. Crystal says that Shy didn't want Alex to get out of his sight. He totally missed him. Well, yeah, because remember last episode, Shy's used to bedtime. Bedtime was all Alex all the time. They spent like that quality time together as he's getting ready to put him to sleep. So he probably missed that routine for sure, right? Daddy's boy. That's the show, you guys. I hope that you have an amazing rest of Thursday. And does anyone want to talk about anything before I end the show? We have a couple of minutes. I can pop into the live chat, see what y'all are talking about. What's Texas Gina talking about? Y'all, I hear Texas Gina told us earlier that she makes jewelry, so make sure you guys check her out. That's kind of cool. Who else is in here? Well, I think that's it. Thanks for a great show, you guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I always forget to say that. Thumbs up wherever you are. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye for now.